Hey besties, welcome back to another episode of the podcast. My name is Anna. It's another beautiful Friday, and guess what? Your girl is back here, but this time I am not alone. As you guys already know by now, I will be interviewing the contestants for the Miss Face of Humanity Nigeria Competition 2024. And I have one of the contestants here with me. Her name is Eleanor Okoroma. I am so excited for you guys to hear from her and hear her talk about her topic, which is breaking the silence, confronting abuse and gender discrimination for a more equitable society. I think this is a conversation that I am sure everyone would be interested in hearing about or getting our own ideas and thoughts about it because this is something I am passionate about as well. So, welcome to today's episode, Eleanor. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. I've been looking forward to this
Okay,
session with you, actually.
that's nice. I like you when people look forward to talking to me and talking about things, conversations and discussions. It excites me. So, what I like to do here is give my guests an opportunity to introduce themselves because I believe that it is better to hear from the horse's mouth. Because I cannot introduce you like you would like to introduce yourself. So, tell us a little bit about Eleanor. Who is Eleanor Okoroma?
All right. My name is Eleanor, like I said earlier, and I am a young activist of women empowerment. I am an advocate for women empowerment and a global citizen. I see myself as a citizen of the world rather than a citizen of Nigeria because I believe that everything that affects everyone in the world, everything that happens everywhere in the world affects us as a collective group. So I am a global citizen and also an advocate for women empowerment and gender equality. I
Okay,
grew
I
up
think I like
here in
you already.
Abuja. Okay.
You're what did you say? Sorry.
I said I grew up here in Abuja and I'm from Imo State. Yes.
Okay. Okay, I like you already.
Oh, thank you. I like it
I
too.
like you already because you are passionate about things I'm passionate about. And I like the fact that you're a global citizen. I think that's what I'm going to start using now. I'm not Nigerian, I'm a global citizen. Okay, please just let me go. Especially when I'm at the airport. Like, what do you mean? I'm a global citizen. Okay.
Citizen, yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for that. I always like to ask contestants this particular question because I think it's important to know the why. Because personally, I think whatever it is that you're doing in life, you need to know your why. Your why is going to be that driving force and that thing that keeps you going when things become like really difficult and challenging for you. So why Miss Face of Humanity?
Um, the space of humanity to me is just like an expression of my true personality and my true calling, not only as a young woman with a voice in the 21st century, but as a human being, because it depicts humanity as a totality. And I believe that humanitarian service and humanitarian work cannot be overemphasized. We, as citizens of the world and of Nigeria, need to take it as one of the most important things before any other thing. You know, your concern for your fellow human being, your brothers, and looking out for each other and our welfare. So that's why I chose to be here, and I like everything about the pageant. I know I've been following the reigning queen. She's beautiful, she's excellent, and I like the work that they do, even with the partnerships and the activities that they carry out. So that's why I chose Miss Face of Humanity.
Okay, that's interesting. I like it when someone
Yeah.
has a goal and they do everything to make sure that they achieve that goal. And like you said, humanity is all of us, right? Caring for the next
Yeah.
person. Yeah. So when you have a passion and you try as much as possible to put yourself on a in a position or in a space where you're able to achieve it, that's a good thing.
Mm.
But then again, there's another question I like to ask because I personally think that if you're going into pageantry and you're looking for a platform to do something, I want to believe that you're looking for a bigger platform. I want to believe that the reason why you're looking for that platform is to do things bigger than what you're already doing, right? So there should be something that you're already doing. So what's that thing that you as Eleanor has been doing before now? And you're hoping that this platform that you're, looking to get into, or this platform that you're in right now, is going to help you achieve it in a bigger way. What is that thing that you're already
All right, I'm glad you asked me this question because I'm really excited to answer this. I've I've worked as a full-time volunteer during the time when I finished school, and then I transitioned into working with non-profits because I actually studied estate management, but I felt that drive in me to go for humanity. And working with these NGOs, I met so many people in disadvantaged positions, and then I saw that there's so much to offer. And then apart from that, I liked the work that they do. I worked in so many communities within Abuja. Some of them are Kamarjiji community, that's a disabled colony in Abuja, then Kuchingoro community, Piwoyi community. At Piwoyi community, I worked with a Silver Lining for the Needy initiative. I noticed that there are a lot of widows in rural communities who have been burdened with the responsibility of taking up the full weight of their family's welfare, their children, and even extended family members. And then I noticed that a lot of women in these communities, rural communities, don't are discriminated against and underrepresented. Most of their husbands don't perform their duties as husbands, and then they don't have anyone to speak for them. So they are left to carry the burden of their families, and they lack so many amenities, basic amenities. Most of them are not educated. So with the time that I spent with the Jeremy Foundation, the USAID Foundation, I went fully into capacity building and capacity development. I was able to assist them in their work with training women in basic skills that can give them a source of livelihood, because we notice that that's a prevalent issue in these rural communities. And I believe that these activities can be scaled up on a larger scale in the country, because poverty is one of the prevailing issues that is affecting every other aspect of even this country as a whole. I believe that Nigeria has the potential to be great, to be a very great nation, because we are blessed with resources. But poverty has this crippling effect on the mind. It prevents you from being able to see and even imagine and even strive towards or achieve anything. And I believe that if we can eliminate that, it will create other avenues for development. So through this capacity building and through decent work and economic growth, training, skill training, and livelihoods, I think this is something that I want to take up and build upon that I'm already into now.
doing? Okay. Okay. I like that you say that. And sometimes when I talk to people and I ask them, what have you been doing before now? Or what are you already doing before now? A lot of them just beat about the bush. They're not really sure. It's almost as though they don't have specific things that they have done. So I like it when I speak to someone and you're telling me that, okay, I'm getting to this pageant and I want to do something. And at the end of the day, this is something I'm already doing. Because I believe that if it's something that you're passionate about, if you're passionate about something, then you should already be making an effort to try something. Even if it's not on a bigger scale, right? Just you're already
Yes.
putting in. So yeah, I like that you're doing something and it's interesting to see that, you're already doing that. So,
Thank you.
what in your own understanding, what does capacity building mean to you in the context of fighting poverty and inequality?
In my own understanding, capacity building is a way to support communities, organizations, or institutions to be able to upscale and carry the burden of whatever challenges might come and be able to move up in the ladder. I think that's like the main focus of capacity building, building on their existing skills and improving it so that they can have a sustainable life and be able to overcome any problem that comes their way.
Okay, so what about those that don't even have any skill at all?
That's where awareness comes in. That's where sensitization. That's where training, building them up. So in that case, where they don't have any skills, you can actually look at what they are good at doing, because most people might not have skills professionally, but they have something that they are able to do. So in that way, you can build on what they are able to do. And because they are like some people, they are just maybe the only thing they can do is farm because that's all they've known. In that case now, you can help them with sustainable farming methods. You can help train them on sustainable farming methods, give them better implements so that they can have a better yield. So there's so much to it. And even if they don't have skills, there's always something that someone has to offer. And that's why this cause is so important to me. And that's why I advocated for it so much, empowerment and capacity building.
Okay. And you know
Yeah.
that I like to use Nigeria because that's where we're from. I don't
Yeah.
really know much about most African countries, but the situation in Nigeria, these are experiences that we have lived as individuals, right? So I like to always talk about Nigeria when I talk about these things. You know that Nigeria is a very rich but impoverished country. It's is
Yes,
is
exactly.
is insane.
Exactly.
It's insane,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And there's been people who have come to do like vocational skills training and all of that, but it still feels as though nothing is happening. So, what do you think are the strategies? What are the effective strategies you think can be put in place for implementing capacity building initiatives in most of these impoverished states in Nigeria? Because people have been there, they've done vocational skills, and it feels as though they just do and go, and the problem continues. There's not been like
Okay.
I don't think there's been like an effective strategy that we implemented to make sure that okay, this thing is sustainable.
Okay. So one of the problems that these other people who have carried out this skill training or capacity building, the mistakes that they've made, I think will be they weren't able to identify the needs, the wants, and the interests of the people in question because we are very diverse as individuals, as human beings. Something that will interest me might not interest you specifically, though we'll have general things that we're interested in because we're both women, but there's still something that will be specific to me that you might not have interest in. So that's where need assessment comes in. So most of them just went there and then they decided, okay, this is what they feel is important for these people. But I believe that you can make a living, you can make business out of almost anything. That's what this age has taught us, even with the COVID-19 coming of the COVID. You can make business out of anything. So when you are able to get the needs of the people and their wants as well as their interests, I'm sure that you will get it right in capacity building.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Because you also do know that I get where you're
Yeah.
coming from. I get what you're saying. Because, like you
Yeah.
said, most of the time people just go there and say, "Oh, I want to teach this skill." Even though sometimes when you go with all of these skills, there's not been like proper research to know, okay, what do these people like? What in this area? What sells in this area? What
Yeah.
business
Yeah.
can flourish around here, right?
Yeah.
And so, do you not also think that I don't know if I'm asking this question, I'm just adding to what you just said.
Okay.
That it's important that also when you're teaching people skills, you also teach them the business side of the skills. Because I think that's also something that is lacking. People don't know how to make money out of the skills that they have. And sometimes
They
when
have.
people just go to these communities and they just, sell things, it's almost as though, okay, I've taught you this thing now, you just have to find your way. Do you not think that's a problem?
Yes. Yes, I do think so. And I also think that in the coming of the ICT and the computer age that we are now, it's not just enough for people to have skills and business acumen. They need to have digital skills as well. And they need to know how to market their skills and their service and their business on a global scale via the internet and these other mediums. Because I noticed that most of these people, business men and women, are thriving more now online than even just normal in the normal space. So
Yeah.
that's very important, as well as ICT. And then also financial literacy. Most of them lack basic financial literacy, both personal finance as well as for the business. Most people, why their businesses don't work out is because they don't know how to differentiate their business from their personal expenses. Most of them just mix everything together, and that's not how it's supposed to be. So yes, thank you for shedding more light on it and also helping me out. I appreciate that.
And thank you for mentioning financial literacy, because if you look at it, it's not even, we're talking about people in the rural areas who in the rural areas who don't really have enough education like that. Some of them don't really have basic education. But we're also it's a good thing that you mentioned financial literacy, because even as educated people, sometimes some of us don't know how to manage our money. You know, we don't know how to
Exactly.
manage
Yes.
our finances. We just
Yes.
yeah, which of course is the reason why I'm reading books on um, financial literacy, money, and things to just see how I can help myself. Because let's not think it's only people that have not gone to school. It affects even
Yes.
the most educated people. So thank you for mentioning that. So I
You're welcome.
how do you say governments and NGOs and private sectors or organizations can collaborate effectively when it comes to capacity building to make it effective? Because I know we always call the government. It's sad that our government is not really doing anything, right? But at the same time, for I think for there to be effectiveness, or for us to effectively put a stop to the things that we need to put a stop to, we need collaboration. So how do you think that these organizations can collaborate with the government to make sure that capacity building is effective?
Yes, I most organizations are already, collaborating with governments. Most people say government are not doing anything, but the truth is they are actually doing more than people know about. But I noticed in Nigeria, people usually focus on the negative rather than the positive. Like there's this initiative, Nigeria for Women project, that has been going on for quite some time. I think up to 3 years now. The World Bank collaborating with the government of Nigeria to train women on business and also give out grants and loans for them. So I think if we can just do this on a larger scale, because most NGOs, CSOs, CBOs, and INGOs, I think they are kind of scared, though not all of them, to partner with the government because they feel that if they do, maybe the project might not go well or might not end well because of the mentality that Nigerians have already put in their minds where anything related to government. So I think if they can just create more awareness about it to make them understand that everyone has a common goal here. The common goal is for the country to be better, for people to be empowered, and to have a source of livelihood. I know this to be a fact. So if there can just be proper awareness, and maybe some of them don't have the right knowledge and they don't know the steps to take to partner with and the right agencies in the government to partner with. But if there can be more awareness to this effect and there will be an increase in this partnership and it will be like it will improve everything. So that's just my own opinion.
Okay, thank you for mentioning that, because what you just mentioned now, the collaboration with the government, I didn't know about that. I don't know if there are others that you can maybe put out there, just in case people are out there thinking that, okay, these things don't work, it doesn't happen, there's nothing, the government is not really. I still think they're not doing enough. I have a personal
Okay.
vendetta. I still think they're not doing enough. But
Yes.
since you mentioned that there are things that they're doing, you already mentioned one. Is there any other one, or are there any other ones that you feel like you need people to know these things exist? So just in case they need help or they need assistance, they can talk to.
Okay. I think there is one that the Ministry of Trade and Industry and Investment is currently doing. It's a grant scheme for business owners. They've been giving it out since last year. The Honorable Minister, I think Doris Uzoka, um,
Okay.
yes, she has this initiative with her ministry where she gives out grants to business owners, mainly traders and like small scale businesses. And I think that it's very important because those people are like, they are kind of like the heart of the country because and anywhere you go to, Apart from, yeah, you have your supermarkets and all that, but you see these markets, they are very, very important. So this grant has been going on, but I noticed that even I follow her online, but then most people don't believe that, it's true. They feel like if they apply, they're not going to get it, but then people have been getting it. So
Yeah.
this is just one of them. There are other ones I don't know about. And there's even this 3MTT, though that one is for youths, training for youths. So that one, after you're trained on computer and ICT skills, then they help you to like get employment. So they've actually been trying, but then I noticed that the main challenge that we have now in the country is our population. Our population is growing at a rapid rate. So it's now looking like everything they do, it doesn't seem as if they are doing anything, but they're actually doing a lot. So these are just some of them. Yeah.
Thank you for that. But at the same time, I'm struggling to believe you when you say they're doing a lot. I don't know, maybe because maybe I'm like every other Nigerian that is like, no, the government is not doing a lot. Because
No, quite
I
all right.
personally believe that.
Yeah.
You were saying?
Okay, I say quite all right. They need to do better, to be very honest.
Hmm.
I'm an activist, though,
Yeah.
as a Nigerian, as an activist, you have to be careful with your activism. So they need to do better. They need to listen to the people more.
Yeah.
And, as a leader, you need to make a lot of sacrifices. There
True.
is this notion that Nigerian leaders are very extravagant in their lifestyle. And I agree with it. It's true. You
Mm.
don't find it like that in other places. So yes, if they can just cut back on that and listen more to the voices of the people, because democracy is supposed to be for the people and by the people. And if it is not for them, then I don't know who is for. So that to
Exactly.
me, I think is very important. But apart from that, there are still things that we need to give them credit for. So that's just all I'm saying. Though I agree with you.
No, true. I
Yeah.
definitely agree because I feel like it's good when you see that someone is doing something and you're able
Yeah.
to appreciate them for it, right? But I think the case with our government is the fact that although they're doing a little bit of good, it just feels like the bad just outweighs the good in their own
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
get
like you're blinded to all the good that they've done. You're only seeing the bad.
exactly.
So it's
Yeah.
interesting that you say that. Thank you so much for sharing that because I know that there's so many people that are going to listen to this episode that don't even know that these things exist, right? So let's talk about
Yeah.
the role. What do you think the role of education plays in combating in capacity building, in helping us combat poverty? Because poverty is such a problem, eh? It is
Honestly, it
poverty
is.
is the root of many problems. Honestly, let's not just lie. Is the root of many problems. How do you think? What role do you think education plays in helping combat that?
Okay, that's an interesting question, and I'm happy that you asked me that, honestly. I've noticed there's this pattern in the communities I've worked in. Almost all of them are not educated. So most times you don't even know how to help them because most times they don't even understand English. Sometimes you need to have, an interpreter to go there with you. Some of them even think that you are coming to harm them or do something wrong to them because they're not used to seeing people wanting to help them. So it's a big challenge. This is something that is it's like a cycle of generational poverty. And most of them, it's
Mm,
not actually their fault. They found themselves
mm,
in it.
yeah.
So I would say that education is very, very important. And in one of the organizations that I collaborated with, Silver Lining, there's a very interesting initiative that they raised there, which is adult education. It's a 3 months program where they train adults now, mothers and fathers
Mm,
as well. But
mm.
the women population are more. You know how men can be.
Yeah,
So
I know.
they teach them basic skills. They teach them how to read and write, like the basic primary school. And then after that, they transition into financial literacy and then they give takeoff grants for them to start their business. So it was a very interesting program. It was a 3 month program because most of these people, they were learning so quickly. Before we could finish, they were able to read and write very well. Quite all right. Some of them could do that a little bit, but
Yeah.
they improved at a drastic pace, and I could see their interest and their desire to learn. So also, adult education is something that can be looked into, because even though yes they are grown, it doesn't mean that all hope is lost. So
True.
education is very important. That's just what I would say, because it changes the mindset, it changes the mentality. Oh, there's so much more out there. There's this mindset that illiteracy gives to people. They just think that all they see is all there is, and it's not like that. So
True.
education is very important.
True. I like that you mentioned that because you know the reason why I like that you mentioned that is because sometimes when I say that maybe there's not much we can do for older people. Let's just focus on children. And so I like the fact
Yeah.
that you mentioned that not all hope is not lost for adults. They can still do a
Yeah.
lot more. And it's interesting that you said something about literacy and opening the eyes of people to see that there's more. The same way I always feel like people that been in one position for their whole life. It's important
Yeah.
to in a way travel to other places just to see how things are done, just to see that things are different in other places. So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
interesting that you mentioned that. Thank you so much for mentioning that because now at
Yeah.
least
Well,
before I say before I say, oh, there's not much we can do for older people, I remember that, oh no, Eleanor said that, there's still hope for these people, they can
yes.
still go to school. So thank you for mentioning that. I know that we've talked a
My
lot about
pleasure.
the importance of capacity building and why we need that to combat poverty and to make sure that we have a growing society or a society that is conducive to living. So,
Yes.
what challenges do you see in sustaining the impact of capacity building initiatives over a long term? Because if we're talking about solutions for poverty, eradicating poverty, or let's use capacity building, we also need to talk about sustainability. What do you think? How do you think we can do this for the long term with these initiatives?
Okay. Like for the long term now, capacity building might have challenges, because if you are trying to take people away from what they are used to, it can be difficult. So in the long run, you see some of them will start losing interest. They might not want to learn again. They might not come around for training. They might think, oh, what is this? I'm just wasting my time. What am I doing? But then the thing is, if you are able to combine this capacity building with other activities, so that it will combat that mentality of wanting to give up and get bored and just not be interested anymore. Recreational activities, like kind of like a retreat once in a while. Okay, you do something different, sports, games, outing and all that. If you can combat the mindset of wanting to give up and get bored, because these are people who are used to not doing something for themselves, or for example they are just used to being living with the little they have and just going around doing nothing, and then all of a sudden you want to teach them this and teach them that, and you are telling them so many things and giving them so many responsibilities. So you have to think of ways to make it fun, make it exciting. And I believe that when you put in these kind of activities, it will combat that problem that will make it not to be sustainable.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, you are very correct because when you're trying to take people out of their comfort zones, even as even me sometimes, it's like I'm okay here. Don't stress me. Don't take me out of this place. I'm fine. Sometimes I even fight with myself when I'm trying to, get myself out of my comfort zone. So it's never an easy feat to achieve, but we just need to
Yeah.
continue to try, right? Because
Yes.
what can we do? So how can technology be leveraged to enhance capacity building efforts in underprivileged areas in Nigeria, especially?
Wow, that is just that's a beautiful question. Technology can be leveraged through online activities, sharing these initiatives online. Like if I wasn't following the Honorable Minister of Industry and Trade, I wouldn't have known about the uh, grants that her ministry is funding, is backing for traders and business owners. So creating awareness, social media, documenting your activities, documenting, because there's a way you will do something and you will document it and it will look so inspiring, so excellent and wonderful. And everyone will want to be a part of it. People will want to contribute, donate, support, everything. So I think that's one of the ways technology can use by the use of social media. And then another way is also teaching them technological skills to enhance the activities and the training that they are getting and this capacity building. So these are like the two main um, ways that I feel will be very, very good and very important.
Okay, and yeah, good thing you said that, because we as a people we always like to say that, oh, when people do things for people and then they post it on social media, there's this thing like, oh, why are you trying to show off? Why are you showing everyone that you did this? Why you know how people say things on
Yes,
social media, and
yeah,
even though
I
sometimes I
do.
share in that sentiment in a little, but we also
Mm.
need to. That's why I said I like that you mentioned that, because it's important to post some of these things, because it's also a way to encourage people. If you're going to post your lavish lifestyle on social media to either encourage people or pepper people, whatever the situation is, it's also important to post these things to make sure that people see them and people are encouraged and are able to as well go ahead and do um, good in society. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been an interesting conversation with you, even though I know that time is
Yes.
almost up, but I'm looking at the time, we should keep going. But yeah, let me ask you, what would you say? What would be your advice to, if you were to say, for instance, now I'm putting it in the universe on your behalf, Miss Face of Humanity Nigeria 2024.
Yes.
What would you say to the government as regards capacity building, um, as a way to combat poverty? What would you advise the government to do? You are speaking to the government now. They can hear you. What would you say?
I would tell them that capacity building is very important and it should be applied to every aspect of the country and the economy, because when you build people's capacity and you're able to train them, it improves the foreign investment. We are able to create more jobs for people, and then it also improves their source of livelihood. And now when you have people who are empowered, it combats poverty as well. So we have a ripple effect of a sustained and improved nation. And then it even gives them less work to do because the people are more or less doing everything for themselves. And you know how Nigerians are already. We know how to get opportunities out of
Yes,
nothing. We
we
know how
do.
to get opportunities where there is none. So imagine when you now empower them and then you give them the resources to do more for themselves. So it's just going to be wonderful. And that's just what I would tell them, that they should look into it and ways that it can be sustainable, that like some of the things we've already talked about together in this session, technology, awareness, and, the whole retreats activities, fun activities to combat the wearing out and getting tired of, trainings. And that's just what I would tell them, that they should look into it because it is going to combat poverty, it's going to improve the economy, and it's going to practically make the people do the work. And everyone is going to be happy because we're hardworking people in Nigeria. And I'm
We
sure
are.
that that's what they will want. So that's what I would say.
We
Thank
are.
you.
And yeah, thank you. And to add to that, I think they should start right now. I think it's important to incorporate capacity building in our curriculum in schools for young children. Because if you look at places like China and all of that, these kids start from at a young age where they're teaching them all of these things. And then
Yes.
by the time a child gets to, you don't even, sometimes some of these people may not even need to, do too much, because they already have the knowledge. They become professionals before they get to the age of between 18, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for that. And it's been such a joy talking to you, by the way. It's been
Thank
a
you.
joy talking to you. I like it when I
Thank
speak to
you.
people our age. my brain is moving here and there, and I'm thinking. So yeah, thank you for the conversation. I wish you all the very, very best in your journey to becoming Miss Face of Humanity Nigeria, and eventually Miss Face of Humanity. So yeah, thank you so much for joining me, and I wish you
Yeah.
all the best. I wish you all the very best.
Thank you. I'm happy that I was able to join you and speak with you today. I'm so grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, it was good having you. So, guys, you've heard it all. I'm sure you got a lot. I'm not going to say a few things because I got a lot from this conversation. I'm sure you've got a lot from this conversation. We need to also, as individuals, help ourselves because we cannot completely rely on the government. There's so much
Yeah.
work that we need to do on individual levels, and people that we see in our community, the way we can help. It's important for us to do our own little quota as well in our spaces. So yeah, that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed listening. Please let me know what you think in the comments. What do you want to add? What do you want to say to Eleanor? Don't forget to like, share, and until I see you again, it's Anna, and this is Answers. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Is Blessing sleeping?